Aloha, Devin Trine here from the Pineapple Real Estate Group, and today we're doing part 3 of our webinar series, how to become a listing king or queen. So let's jump right into it. First thing we're going to talk about is how to even get a listing, how to convert them and where your listings are going to come from, what to do once they actually sign the paperwork, how to sell the heck out of this property, and then of course we're going to make sure how do we turn that into referrals. So let's get started. Number one question, how do I get a listing, or better yet, where do your listings come from? So let's say you are running a business or a restaurant. The most important thing is we want to know, where do our clients come from? Same thing for you. If we're running a real estate practice, we need to know, where do your clients come from? First question, how do you want to get listings? How can we leverage the people that you already know? And then do we want to spend any money? So let's go through this. Listing sources could come from anywhere, like expired. Expired are properties that somebody tried to sell before but could not. This is what I built my entire business on, because when I started, I had a moped, so immediately I was like, okay, I can't work with buyers, meaning I have to work with sellers, because I don't want to show up and pick up my buyer and put him on the back of the moped. So what would I do is I would park down the street from the seller's house, I would walk up, I would knock on their door, and I would ask them if I could help sell their property because they were an expired listing. I did this for years, and eventually until I was able to afford and buy a car, and then I got one. So first thing we know is expireds are a great source of business. For sale by owners. These are people that try to sell the property themselves, probably not doing a very good job, definitely not as good of a job as you could do, especially if you're putting all your energy into it. For rent by owners, these are people that are trying to rent their property, so you get them on the phone and you're like, hey, Mr. Seller, would you just consider selling instead if I brought you an offer? That's an awesome, awesome source of business that not a lot of agents go after. Another one is door knocking. Knocking on people's doors and giving them a script such as, hey, I'm a neighbor, I'm a local realtor, we're doing an open house, we're doing this. Hey, by the way, have you had any thoughts of selling? That's a really great strategy. Then you have your database, people you know. You can pay for leads online. You can join networking groups. You can meet agents and do agent-to-agent referrals. Or one of my favorite ones, because they're free, host an open house. Then the best thing about open house is you have people coming to you. Like, they literally come to your house where you're sitting, and then all you have to do is just convert them. So you have to know the right tips, tricks, strategies, scripts, what to say, what not to say, that whole thing. So first thing you're going to do is determine 3 listing sources and where you want them to come from. Let's go through an example. So you need 3 sources of listings. Now let's say you're newer to the island or just any market. Maybe you say the first one is, I want to go after expireds. You don't know a lot of people, this is an amazing source to go after. Number 2, furbos. This is amazing because there is going to be an unlimited supply of expireds in rental listings that you can also go after. And then number 3, we're going to go after your database. We're going to really start reaching out to every single person you know and start asking them, hey, by the way, who do you know that might want to buy or sell real estate? If you do end up making a move, can I be the agent that works with you? There's nothing wrong for asking for the job. I think a lot of agents get really stuck on this idea of like, oh, I don't want to sell myself, or I don't want to do that. My favorite script, my favorite open house script of all time is open house scripts, which is, I will literally ask the buyer or the client, hey, by the way, do you already have a real estate agent? And if they tell me, no, I don't have a realtor, I'll just be like, oh, I'd like to apply for the job. Is that okay? And 9 out of 10 times, they'll just be like, sure, why not? And then you'll say, so what are we looking for? And then you pull out your notebook and you start writing down what they're looking for. And you'll be like, well, I have a couple places in mind because you've looked at every listing that morning. Let's go check out places tomorrow evening after you're done with work. Oh, sure, why not? It is an awesome source of business, so I would say really, really focus on making that a big priority of your business for 2022. Expired, for rent by owners, database, and if you want to add a bonus, open houses. Now, We've kind of covered where do these leads come from, where do these conversations, but we haven't really covered how to have the conversation about getting the listing. So let's go over that. First thing to know is that a lot of sellers are a little apprehensive when they hire somebody to sell their home. Naturally, they should be. They have a stranger coming in, taking photos, doing staging. It's a lot of work. It costs a lot of money. I mean, for good reason. You're doing a lot of work to get their property sold, and it costs a certain amount to sell it. But what they don't realize is they don't know all of this. They don't know exactly how the home selling process works. And that's where it's our job to guide them and set their expectations. So once you have a seller who indicates, hey, Devin, I'm considering selling my property, that's where you need to take over. Okay, great to hear. Congrats. Where are you going, John Smith? Oh, we're actually thinking of moving to Big Island. We have family over there. But we don't know what we could sell the house for, and it seems like a lot to get it sold. This is where you can really help. This is where you can really make a difference for them. So the first thing we want to do is we want to build rapport. Build rapport. We want to show that they can trust us, that we are knowledgeable, that we have value, that we know what we're doing. If you talk over them and you interrupt and you don't listen to what they say, you're not going to build rapport. So number one, build rapport. Number two, what do you guys think it is? You need to set an appointment. Here's a mistake, bonus pro tip. The number one mistake, brand new, almost every agent makes, is they try and sell themselves on the phone. They try and say, you should work with me, you should do this or that or whatever. It's like, no. None of that happens on the phone. The most important thing that you need to do is you need to set an appointment with the seller to meet them in person, to go over the listing procedures and marketing plan, to view their home and have you give them a master or a full tour. Then you need to prepare or plan for your listing presentation, your LP. What is a listing presentation? This is where you sit down with the seller and you walk them through the entire process from start to finish of selling their home. So here's what our listing process looks like. We're going to schedule an appointment with the seller. We're going to prepare comps. We're going to prepare docs. I'm going to call every single listing agent that I have a comp for and ask them, how many offers did you have? Did you get above or below asking if it's not listed or if it's an escrow? Any concessions or anything I should be aware of? Because when you go on that listing appointment, you need to know if the neighbor's house sold for $200,000 over, but it was unlisted, you need to know that. The more you know about your comps and area and that home, the more impressed they're going to be. Then, so you've prepared your comps, you know what listing docs you need, you're going to meet them, you're going to have them give you a tour. Tip, make sure that you love their property, exclaim what you like about it, even if it's not the best house in the world. Like, find something you genuinely like that's unique and different about their home, and share this with them. Do not just be like, yep, this is fine. This is like every other house I've ever sold in my entire life. There's nothing special about it at all. I promise you, you will not make them feel good. You want to do what I call hero-fy them, or build them as the hero in their story. And when you do this, they're going to feel excited. They want to be around that. They want to be around people that are nice to them. Just be nice. And so they give you a tour. Then you're going to walk them through the marketing strategy. So here's what our marketing strategy is. Number one, you meet at the property with your stager, our stager, and she'll help you box up any items. She'll move furniture in, she'll move furniture out, she'll put down new floor mats, she'll move in couches. I mean, everything that we need to do to make this home look as good as possible, she will do, whether it's adding things or subtracting things. Then our videographer and photographer, Nico, gets to go to the property, and he'll capture all the right angles in the sunlight, and he knows that in this area we want to go at noon because the sun is here, whereas in this area we might get some amazing shadows for the mountains. It could really blow up and the lighting would be amazing at twilight. So he knows all of this, and he gets to go to the property and capture it on video and photo. Then we actually prepare the listing itself. We call the association, the managers, we call the neighbors, we let them know about it. We have a private special event for just the neighborhood. And then we have an actual mega open house once we go on the market. We send out flyers, we prepare nice, beautiful brochures with like packages, and it is a whole thing. When we list a property, it is an ordeal, and we make an event out of it, and we treat it like it's that important because we are selling $500,000 to sometimes $5 million listings. We need to treat them as such. If you do not have an awesome marketing plan, find an awesome marketing plan. If you're too cheap to do this, then tell your clients, let them know, like, I charge a little bit less, but I don't offer all the same features that maybe somebody else does, so that's why we can go about this. There's nothing right or wrong about what we do. It's the service that we provide, which works really well for some clients. However, I have some investor clients that are just like, Devin, I want to pay less money. I want to not do any of this. The house is fine. I don't care. If you tell me you're going to get me more money by doing all these things, I don't want to do it. And that is 100% up to them, and it's your business, so you can choose like what front you want to take that on. All right, so what did we cover? We covered starting. Where do sellers come from? How do you get them? What do you say to kind of clear the listing to get to the appointment? At the appointment, what do you go over? So you go over, you build rapport, you go over comps, you go over your marketing strategy. But then what? Then the sellers are going to say, well, Devin, how much does this house, how much is it going to sell for? In which case you, as the professional, are going to help them discover what the right price for the property is. So here's what we do. The first thing you're going to have is you're going to have their info sheet. It's going to be everything they need to know about their own property. They probably already know it. Then you're going to try and find a comparable sale, a sold, that's slightly more expensive, slightly better. So we'll say 5% better. Percent better. Then you're going to want to find another sold. Let's say this one is 5% worse. Then you're going to compare the price of each one of these. And you're going to say, now, Mr. Seller, we know this one, of course, your property is definitely way better than. So this one's going to sell for more than this one. We know this one sold for $800. We're definitely going to sell for more than this one. But we also know this house, slightly better than yours, more recently upgraded, has a little bit bigger lot size. And this one sold for $850. Meaning, I can tell you we're going to fall in between this range, depending on how much work we want to do to get the home listed, how many buyers we get in. So this is the range that we know your house is going to sell. And here's what we're doing. We are trying to logically, to get them out of the land of emotion, we're trying to logically make them look at their home in comparison to others on the market. And hopefully they say, okay, that makes sense, I could see that. But here's the most important thing. Here's why you have to call these listings. Because let's say you compare their home to this home that's slightly better, and they say, well, Devin, I've actually been in that home. That listing looks nothing like the photos. They had to do all these upgrades. The plumbing was bad, and it had an old roof. If you don't know that, you're going to look pretty dumb right here. So you're going to be trying to recover, and it's not going to be, you're just not going to look good. So that's why you have to absolutely call all of your comps and talk to the agents and actually find out about those listings. And then hopefully they say, yeah, Devin, that makes sense. I can see why you would say we would sell between $800,000 and $850,000. And you want to ask them, so Mr. Seller, what do you think of that? What do you think of this range? And you want to put the ball back into their court. Do you see how I got them out of every other price point? The 900s, the millions are like, no, okay, I could see why this works. And now I'm asking them to choose a price between $800 to $850, which is a small enough difference where we know it will sell. And then typically, I know some agents, I know they say not to, I always make a pricing recommendation. Why? Because I want them to list it at the price that I recommend that I want it to sell for, or what I know it will sell for. Because when you do this long enough, you will look at a house and you'll be able to say within just a couple percent what it's going to sell for almost all the time. This market's been a little crazy though. Do this. Just do this strategy and follow it. It's going to make your life way better. So now, we've walked them through the marketing, we've walked them through the pricing. Now what is next? We have to walk them through our paperwork. The listing contract. So when you pull out your listing docs, don't be nervous about it, don't be shy. We need them to sign this. If they don't sign this, we're not agreeing to work together. This is the document that states, I will sell your home. You are hiring me full-time to sell your property. If you don't want to work with me, then you can't sign this, or then we're not going to sign this. So you're going to walk them through the entire listing document, including whatever your commission is and how much commission you're giving to the buyer's agents. So let's say you're charging 5.75%, and I just took that out of nowhere, and you're keeping 2.75% of it, and you're going to give 3% to the cooperating agent because you're very generous. You would explain that to them and you would tell them why. If you don't go over the paperwork now, they're going to be very confused. They're going to have no idea what's going on, and they very well could fire you. So very, very important. Make sure to walk them through the paperwork. Next thing, prior to this appointment, it's going to be crazy coincidental because the price that they decide on, you are actually going to have what's called a seller's net sheet. And what this will do is it's going to break down every single cost. It's going to break down the mortgage that you asked about. And then it will show them after all expenses how much money they make. You are going to then give them a copy of this because, especially a lot of people, you don't want them to get to the very end of the closing and they're like, oh, Devin, I see I'm only making $43,000 on the sale. You're like, yeah, congratulations, that's a lot. They're like, no, I was expecting 143. That's not good. Make sure to do this. If you don't do this with your clients, you're putting themselves and yourself in a pretty tough situation. All right, couple tips. So when you're working with sellers, here's a couple things that really helped me up my game. So I was taking a lot of listings in a very short time period, like multiple listings per week sometimes. Number one, setting expectations and being realistic. When you're on the phone with them and they're like, yeah, I think I would sell, I'm not really sure. If you have a busy schedule, don't just go on an appointment for the sake of going on an appointment. Get listings that sell, not overpriced listings. So number one, don't just take listings because they're overpriced or just to get a listing. Make sure it's priced right, you know it's going to sell, the seller is motivated, and that's the key. If they're not motivated, it's not going to sell. I've listed too many homes and wasted so much time on properties that never went anywhere. You don't want to do that because it really will eat into your bottom line. Number two, when you're working with the clients, the most important thing to make sure they stay happy is you've got to tell them what's going on way ahead of time. Like weeks out from anything actually occurring. Hey, Mr. Seller, by the way, in 2 weeks we're going to be scheduling a termite inspection. Hey, by the way, in 1 week we're having a termite. Hey, Mr. Seller, tomorrow is the termite inspection. The day of the termite inspection, you're going to call the seller for entry instructions and they're going to say, oh, I didn't know there was a termite inspection, in which case you're going to say, oh, you remember when we called and we talked about it those 4 times and I sent you 14 emails? Oh, that's what this is. Oh, okay, got it. No, thanks, Devin. I appreciate you telling me this. Yeah, I just make sure to let me know more ahead in the advance. And you're just like, yeah, sure, no problem, will do. So setting expectations, being clear about pricing, making sure that you follow through on what you say you're going to do, and then of course, taking homes that are priced really well is going to make you an extremely awesome, amazing, super successful real estate agent. So if you have questions, or you're just like, Devin, I need 5 or 10 minutes of your time. Can you just help me with this one thing? My Calendly link is below. My information is there. Just book 15 minutes. I will help you. That is what we're here for. Aloha.